also started reading some of the ancient histories of the church, for instance, by Eusebius, that was written in the 4th century. He was the first real church historian, in an attempt to try to find if somewhere along the line we Christians had gone a little bit off the rails. And to my amazement, what I discovered was that while there are many different points of view on doctrine, and after all, having grown up Protestant, doctrine and theology is always what we talk about, but church history is actually fairly straightforward and well documented. For instance, just to take one area, there are many different doctrines of the sacraments of communion or baptism. But when you read church history, it becomes evident very quickly that the historical church did not have many points of view on these things, and that when you look at their practices, whether it's from the archaeological records of places like Ravenna in Italy, where you have a 3rd and 4th century baptistry and you know what they did there, or whether you read the histories of the church like Eusebius's 4th century history of the church, you very soon discover that what the church has always been is not a matter of just subjective opinion. Well, I read this verse that way, or the Lord is speaking to my heart this way, or, you know, my pastor says. It's actually rather objective, empirical evidence. And I guess I discovered 3 things basically somewhere in there. One was that to be a Christian, it always meant that you believed certain things, which could be summed up, I guess, in the Nicene Creed. The second thing it meant was that you did and did not do certain things. So you could repeat the creed till you were blue in the face, but if you were running an abortion clinic and had run out on your wife and were committing adultery, or if you were abandoning your family, the creed wasn't going to cut it.
To save you. Right?
That's right. And then, but the third thing was that I discovered that kind of amazed me from my background, because I knew so little about it, was that the church had always worshipped in a very definite way. And we Protestants, or at least speaking for myself, kind of get the idea that worship is something you make up as you go along, that you do, you know, if you like banging a tambourine, bang a tambourine. If you want to do cartwheels, do that. If you're Reformed and worship is 4 white walls and a sermon, do that. And spirituality being the feeling you get at the end of the sermon. And no one seems to remember much these days that Christian morality, worship, and doctrine were all one piece of fabric. So I guess for me, it boiled down to this. There came a certain time in reading some church history and talking to people and so forth that I came to realize, I'll put it this way, that if someone from any part of the historical church, let's say a 3rd century Christian from Carthage, and a 15th century Christian from Lyon in France, and a 10th century Christian from Byzantium in Constantinople, had gone to any one of each other's churches with 1,000 years separating them, and thousands of miles as well, and cultural and history and differences and everything, each would have known exactly where they were.